Hi all, welcome to the channel Cloud Knowledge. Today in this video we'll study about switch activity in ADF and Synapse analytics pipelines. So the switch activity comes under the data factory documentation here under the control flow. Okay, so the switch activity, it provides the same functionality that a switch statement provides in programming languages. It evaluates a set of activities corresponding to a case that matches the condition evaluation. Okay, so if you have done some programming in past, then you must have used switch statement. So here also the switch activity serves the same purpose as the switch statement in the programming languages. It evaluates the set of activities corresponding to a case that matches the condition. So switch in programming language is also used to handle multiple if-else statements, right? So if there are multiple if and else statements, we consider switch statement. So here also we have if condition activity, and to handle multiple cases we use switch activity. Okay, so here if we go down, we have the demonstration on how we have to use this activity. We have to search from the activities, switch activity, and take it into the pipeline canvas and then do the configuration, which we will demonstrate very soon. So the syntax, the JSON syntax is given here, then the different type properties. So here the name, type, expression. Important is that the expression here evaluates to a string value. So in the if condition activity, the expression evaluates to always boolean, true or false, but here it evaluates to a string value. Hence, this is the difference between the switch and the if condition activity. Then the set of cases, array of case objects, and the default activity. If the value does not lie into the cases which are defined, then it will go into default. Next is the example. The pipeline in this example copies the data from the input folder to an output folder. The output folder is determined by the value of the pipeline parameter root selection. So if you have gone through my previous video on if condition activity inside the ADF activities playlist, then it will be easy to understand that in that scenario also, for the if condition activity scenario example also, we copied the file from one folder to the two different folders depending on the pipeline parameter root selection. Here also we have to route the input file to the output folders depending on the pipeline parameter. Okay, and here we'll take at least 3 different cases. Okay. Let's go down in the JSON and we can see that they have defined the switch. Okay, the name of the switch activity, then the type is switch, the expression which will be on the basis of the pipeline parameter root selection, then the different cases we have to define. Then the cases array start, and it has the value 1 where it is copying the data from the input to the output blob. Here's the input defined, then the output defined, then the type properties, then comes another array value, value 2, the case 2, where they are again copying from input to the output, then value 3 to copy, and the default activities is none. We have not given any default activity, so it will be an empty array. Then the parameters which are defined at the pipeline level. So here input path, output path 1, output path 2, output path 3, and the root selection. So we have to define in total 5 different pipeline parameters. Okay, so let's quickly go to the Azure portal and create the pipeline. So here we are in the portal inside the author tab. Let's now start creating the pipeline. Okay, so here we'll name the pipeline as switch, and the switch activity also resides inside the iteration and conditionals. Okay, so we'll take the switch activity inside the canvas. Okay, so here we have taken the switch activity, and after taking the switch activity in the canvas, we will click on the white space, that is the empty space here, so that the parameters and the other options appear. So first option is parameters. We'll click on plus new because we have to define the different parameters. Okay, input path, output path 1, output path 2, output path 3, and the root selection. Okay, so here we'll name input file. Okay, that is the input file which is residing in one of the folders. We have to route it depending on the pipeline parameter root selection. Okay, then output folder 1. You can name the parameters as per your choice. Then comes output folder 2, output folder 3, and one more parameter, which is the root selection. Root selection parameter. Okay, so we have defined in total 5 parameters. Okay, now click on the switch activity. The general tab, we'll leave it as is. We'll go to the activities tab. This is very similar to the if condition activity, and here we have to give the expression of switch activity. The evaluated case sensitive string value will be matched with each case. Okay, so we'll click on the property which should be parameterized, and here we have to give the expression. So the expression, as we read in the example above, just go through it. The output folder is determined by the value of the pipeline parameter root selection. So the root selection parameter which we have given, we have to determine the value of the output folder on the basis of that. So that's why in the expression we have to select the root selection. Okay, so we have selected the pipeline parameter root selection. Now we'll click OK. So this is selected, and in if condition activity there used to be case true and false. Just two cases. Either it should go to true or false. But here the difference is that here we can create multiple cases. And if we go here, the case limit is maximum of 25 cases in the ADF. Okay. Set of cases that contains value and a set of activities to execute when the value matches the expression evaluation must provide at least one case. Minimum one case you have to provide, else it will not be validated. Then there is a maximum limit of 25 cases here. Okay, so we can create in total 25 cases, and if no case, if the value does not go into any of the cases, then it will go to default. Here there is a button add case right below the expression, so we'll click on add case. Then here comes the case 1. Okay, so in case 1 we'll write 1 here. Okay, and the edit button, that in first case what we want to perform. Okay, so we'll click on the first case, the case name we have given as 1, and we'll click on the edit button. Let's click on the edit button. So we came under the pipeline switch 1, case 1. Okay, so we are inside the case 1 of the switch activity, and inside the case 1 we have to perform the copy operation. That is, we want to move the file from input to the output folder, right? So in order to perform that movement, we have to use the copy data activity from the move and transform, or you can directly search here at the top the activity name. Okay, so here is the copy data 1, which we can rename from the general tab. So copy 1. Okay, copy 1, that is transfer to the output folder 1. Then we'll go to the source setting. In the source setting, we have to give the data set. So if we go to the storage account, the input file location, let's go first to the home and then to the storage account. In storage account containers, and inside the test input folder, inside the input folder. So we are inside the test input container. Inside the input folder we are having 2 files. So these two we could serve as the input files. So we'll connect to these input files in the source. So let's click on plus new to the source data set and search for the Gen2 storage Gen2 account. Click continue. Then there are 2 CSVs, so we'll select delimited text. We'll write here switch input as the dataset name. Link service we already have for the storage account, so we'll select that. File path, let's browse to the file location. That is inside the test input folder I've shown you just before this. Input folder and the 2 files. So we'll only select up to the folder level because we'll give the file name as parameter during runtime. So we'll click OK, click OK. Okay, so we have selected the source dataset up to the folder level. The important thing to note here is that in copy data activity we have to give the file path, not up to the folder path. So if we try to validate this activity, it will give us validation error. First is for the sync dataset, third is for the sync dataset, second one is file path of dataset switch input is a folder, right? We have selected the folder. The wildcard file name is required for copy 1. Okay, so in order to remove this error, we have to select the file path type as wildcard file path. Okay, so we have selected wildcard file path, and if we open the source dataset, click on this pencil icon, open, and here for the input file, inside the input folder, we have to give the file name, right? So in order to give the file name through parameter, we have to define the parameter at the dataset level. So create the dataset parameter for the file name. So let's name it as file name, and we'll go back to the connection in the dataset, and here we will click on the file name inside the file path and add the dynamic content. So if we add the dynamic content, it will show us the parameter which we have defined at the dataset level. So upon clicking it, it will take dataset.file name. Now we'll click OK. We'll go back to the pipeline switch, and here the dataset parameter will appear, and in the value we have to give the dynamic content, that is the parameter coming from the pipeline. Okay, so the pipeline parameter for the input file is input file. So we'll select from the list of the parameters input file, and it will show us as pipeline parameters input file. Okay, so we'll click OK. So the setting here is done, and now in the file path type we have given file card file path. So in the wildcard file path also, if we go here, it is test input folder, wildcard folder path, and wildcard file name. So we have to define the file name, which is dynamic, right? So we'll click on add dynamic content, and here also from the pipeline parameters list, we have to select the input file, that is the pipeline parameter for the input file. Okay, so the settings for the source is done. Now we'll go to the sync of the copy data activity. In the sync, where we want to land the file. So if we go again back to the storage Gen2 account, let me take you to the storage Gen2 account first. So this is Cloud Knowledge Gen2 storage account. Inside the containers so we are inside the Cloud Knowledge Gen2 container. We'll enter into the test output folder. Our input file lies inside the test input folder, and here the output file will land into the test output folder among these folders F1, F2 and F3. These are all empty folders created inside the test output folder. Okay, so there are no files currently, and using the switch activity we will land the files into different folders. Okay, so these folders we will define, which is inside the test output container. So here we'll connect to the dataset. Again, it is data lake storage Gen2. Click continue. It will be a delimited text. We'll write the dataset name as switch output. The link service is already there, so we'll select that. Let's browse to the file path. It's inside the test output folder, and the folders we have to define at the runtime. So we'll only select up to this folder and click OK. And let's give OK here. So the sync dataset is selected. Now we'll open this sync dataset. So this is the sync dataset, and now for the folders we have to define the parameter, right? So we'll go to the parameter section and we'll click on plus new, and we'll give the parameter name as output folder location. Okay, it could be anything. It could be folder 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here we have given output folder location. We'll go to the connection of the dataset, and you can see in the file path test output folder, directory name and the file name. So we have to give up to the directory level. That's why we have to select the directory, and here we have to add the dynamic content. The dynamic content will be the parameter defined at the dataset level output folder location. Okay, so it will be dataset output folder location. Click OK. So the file path is selected, and here the file name will come after the copy activity progresses and completes. Okay, so we'll go back now to the pipeline again, and here you could see now the dataset parameter which we have defined, and here we'll give the value of the pipeline parameter, right? So this copy activity is for the case 1. So we'll select here from the output folders folder 1, pipeline parameter output folder 1. Click OK. So this is selected, and the settings for the sync is done. Now if we try to validate the mapping, it will not give any validation error. Okay, so if we go back to the switch activity, we have given the case 1. Let me move it down. So here we have case 1 defined, where we have copy 1. The default case will always be there, so we will not do anything in default. We'll define 2 more cases, okay, with the same copy activity to folder 2 and folder 3. So we can create a fresh copy activity inside those 2 cases, or we can go here in the case 1 and we will just copy this, okay, go back and In the activities of the switch activity, let's click here. We'll create a new case plus add new case, and here we'll name the case as 2. Okay, and we'll open this case by clicking on the edit button, and we'll paste the copy activity which we have copied. So we have pasted, and we'll name this as copy 2. In the source settings, the same file has to be copied, so no need to change the source dataset or the configurations. In the sync, the dataset will be same, but the pipeline parameter will change, right? It will become output folder 2 this time, because this is case 2. We have to copy it to output folder 2. So we'll remove that and add output folder 2 and click OK. The rest of the settings will be same. Now we'll go back here and see that case 1 and 2 are defined. Now we have to create case 3. So we'll go back to the switch activity cases here inside the activity tab, and we'll click on plus add case, and here it will be a third case. Again we'll click on edit for this third case, and here too we will paste the same copy activity. Okay, the copy activity will be same, and we'll rename it to copy 3. In the source, the file will be same. At the sync level, we have to change it at the output folder location and change it to output folder 3. Okay, the settings for all the 3 copy activities is done. So if you move it down, you could see switch has default case 1, case 2 and case 3. Okay, switch activity is complete, and here also we could see the configuration that copy 1, 2, 3 are added to the different cases which we have defined, and in the default we don't want to add case. If you want to, you could add. So we will now validate this switch activity and we'll perform a debug run. Let's perform a debug run. Here we'll mention the input file name. So the input file name, if we go here we have 2 files. Okay, we could select either of them. So let's take the first file, employee file salary.csv, and we'll paste here the input file name. Okay, now output folder 1, 2 and 3. So this folder, let's say F1, here we give F2 and F3, because at the output location I've shown you we have these 3 folders created. And the root selection, whether it should be 1, 2 or 3, right? Because so in the root selection we have given in the expression, and it will evaluate to either 1, 2 or 3. So let's say we want to first copy the employee salary file to the folder 3. Okay, so that's why we have given the root selection as 3. The value 3 we have given. Now we'll click OK, and we'll wait for the debug execution to complete. Okay, so here you could see that the switch is in progress and copy 3 is in progress. Because we have given the root selection 3, it will go to the case 3. Okay, the case 3 which we have defined. Let's wait for the activity to complete. So it succeeded. Copy has also succeeded. Switch has succeeded. If we see the output expression 3, it is evaluating from the root selection. The input is given as employee salary.csv here, wildcard file name you could see. And if we go to the output, it has written the output. Now we'll go to the test output folder, and since we have given 3, so our folder 1 should not have the file. Our folder 1 should not have the file. 2 should not have the file. In 3, we should have the employee salary.txt. So it is copied, right? Employee salary.txt is copied to the folder 3, right? So if we go back, let's go back and execute it once again. We'll give this time another file. The other file was students CSV. We'll copy this, we'll paste in the input file. We'll give the folder location same, and root selection, this time we want it to be 1. Okay, so that it should land inside the folder 1, and copy 1 should execute here. Yep, so switch and copy 1 is in progress, and let's wait for it to finish so that we will see the students CSV inside the test output folder 1. Let's open the folder 1, and the file is copied here. So this is how switch activity performs in Azure Data Factory. I hope you've got the understanding of the basic implementation of this switch statement like logic using the switch activity in ADF. And if you have any queries, questions, to let me know in comments. Thank you for watching the video. Happy learning. Bye.